And I'm going to share a story with you that's going to really, really pick you up. You've probably seen pictures. I've had friends in Los Angeles sending me pictures of Pacific Palisades, Altadena, Pasadena, several places in the San Fernando Valley that have been burned down to the ground, entire neighborhoods, buildings. And people are wondering, wow, what could have I done to prepare myself for this? Well, I'll tell you what you could do to prepare yourself for this. There's a friend of mine. He's an attorney, and he's also a movie producer. And so he lives out in Altadena. On Monday, my friend, this attorney, this Catholic movie producer, he did the Epiphany blessing prayer over the doors of his house. Because in the traditional calendar, the Feast of the Epiphany was on Monday, January 6th. And so my Catholic friend did the Epiphany blessing prayer over the doors of his house. That's on Monday, the Feast of the Epiphany in the old calendar. On Tuesday, the fire department told him to evacuate. On Tuesday, January 7th, because the wildfires forced everybody out of the neighborhood to evacuate their homes in Los Angeles County and flee the neighborhood. People that live in Pacific Palisades were told to evacuate Altadena, Pasadena, and at least 500 acres in the San Fernando Valley. So my friend took his family and all his kids, and they evacuated. He comes back home a few hours later, or maybe the next day, and guess what? As he looks around, every house around him was burned to the ground except his house. His house was unscathed. What did my friend do over his house that probably nobody else in the neighborhood did to their house? He did the Epiphany blessing over the doors of his house on Monday before he was evacuated. And remember, the Epiphany blessing is a prayer asking for divine protection for your house. Coincidence? No. It's not a coincidence. God honors prayer, especially when you're in a state of grace. And this Catholic friend of mine is a serious Catholic who's a lover of Christ. He's well off. I mean, he does well. He's an attorney. He's a movie producer. But boy, oh boy, he's a lover of Christ. And God honored his prayer. He has a bunch of kids. God honored his prayer. He did the Epiphany blessing. He's evacuated by the fire department. Comes back a few hours later. And guess what? His house is the only one standing in the neighborhood. As Catholics, I did the Epiphany blessing on Monday as well, chalking the doors over the doors of my house, and did the Epiphany blessing prayer with my wife. But every night, here's a prayer I do over my house every single night before I go to bed. It's in my book, Lord, Prepare My Hands for Battle, on page 80. I pray this every single night over my house. I pray, part of my evening prayers, I say, Most Blessed Virgin Mary, whose heart is sorrowful and immaculate, we recognize thee as the lady and queen of this house. We consecrate this house and everything in this house to your immaculate care and maternal protection. Have the kindness to preserve it from any evil, from fire, water, thunder, storms, earthquakes, from robbers, wicked people, from revolutions, war, raids, from persecution and taxes, from any other evil known by thee. Bless, protect, defend, and preserve as thy personal property those who live and will live here. Keep them from adversity and misfortune, but above all, preserve them from offending God. Let not a single mortal sin be ever committed in this house, and may all those who enter it work for the glory of God, for the reign of Jesus and Mary. Let this house be forever consecrated to you, O Jesus and Mary. Let it be blessed with all those who inhabit it. Amen. I pray that prayer every single night over my house before I go to bed. It's one of my evening prayers. Guess what? This prayer is an old Catholic prayer that comes from France. During the First World War in France, some of the faithful Catholics were known to have this prayer that I just prayed tacked on the front door of their house. And guess what? The homes of these Catholics and these residents during World War I were not harmed or invaded during the time of war. Coincidence? I don't think so.